Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. We are your hosts, Emma.
I'm Allie.
We are so excited to be hanging out with you guys today. We have a really awesome film that we are reviewing. It is definitely, for sure, considered a classic amongst a lot of people. And we also have like some really fun stuff coming that is related to this episode, but I don't want to spoil the surprise, but y'all will see it very soon, if not by the time this episode comes out. So I'm very excited.
You're going to love it. We guarantee it.
Men's Warehouse.
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know who we are two best friends who love films and specifically horror films. And we wanted to start a podcast where we kind of drink wine and review our favorite horror films. And you can also find us on social media at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. We're super active on our social media. So if you ever have a question or just want to chat with us, like feel free to DM us at any time. We also have a Patreon and we just added a ton more benefits to our Patreon. So please, please, please follow us, check us out, help us to support the podcast. So we love you all, appreciate all the support and all of our Patreon supporters that we have already.
And today we're reviewing one of our favorite movies. I'm so excited. It is the original Carrie of 1976, and we are going to fuck shit up with it because it's amazing.
It is so good. Like, even me and the producer just forgot how good it was. But anyways, we're going to get into that. I do want to give a quick kind of happy birthday shout out to one of our followers, Nicole. She loves this film and actually asked us to do it, even though we kind of already had plans to do it anyway. So I'm glad that it sort of worked out. And Nicole, consider this a little birthday gift to you. And we hope that you like the episode. Happy birthday.
Feliz cumpleaños. On top of that, we do spoil the shit out of all the movies we cover. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it on Max. Or if you don't give a fuck, just listen and we'll tell you all about it, fuckers. Speaking of pig's blood, Emma, what have you been up to?
Oh, okay. Pig's blood. Got it. Carrie White burns in hell. Okay. Sorry. Anyways, I have just been really busy with work. I feel like I say that every time, but work has been busy, which is a good thing. But I've also been doing some fun things on the weekends. I actually just went with the producer to a little spooky market over the weekend in San Diego. So there was the Witch's Brew spooky vendor market at Society Brewery. It was fantastic. We got to meet a lot of really awesome vendors and make some new friends. And Allie, I can't wait for you to come next time because you totally would have loved it. And I also just hung out with some gal friends and got some drinks in the nice San Diego sunshine. And I had my first Aperol Spritz of the season and I am obsessed. I mean, it is the drink of the summer. That's all I have to say.
Sure.
Allie does not understand how I can like Aperol Spritzes.
I don't understand Aperol Spritzes, but I love everybody who loves them and I support you. I have continued to celebrate my mom's 70th birthday. She turned 70 on Earth Day. So it was her birthday.
Her birthday.
We went hiking. We cleaned up trash on a trail that is popular in San Diego. We ate Panda Express. We did the tour day free shit, which like you can go to all these places and get all the free shit on your birthday, like Jersey Mike's, Crumble Cookies, Krispy Kreme,
Denny's.
Everywhere has it. So I highly encourage you to look that up for your birthday, but been celebrating and now I want to take a nap. But we're to do this podcast. Speaking of taking a nap, Emma, what are you drinking?
Damn, I really want to take a nap right now. I'm a sleepy girl, so stop tempting me over there. Maybe by no one's surprise, I guess I just kind of mentioned it, but I'm actually having my second Aperol Spritz of the season. I am obsessed, and it's just so refreshing. And the producer and I are about to go on vacation tomorrow, so I'm kind of, starting things off early. Allie, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking pig's blood.
Oh, okay. No big deal. That's fine.
Just kidding. I have a Pinot Noir in front of me and a White Claw.
It looks like pig's blood.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Oh, and a White Claw. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know I always have 3 beverages in front of me.
Yeah. We also have water.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Allie, cheers to Carrie in 1976. All right, so getting into the synopsis of today's film, Carrie. Carrie White, a shy, friendless teenage girl who is sheltered by her domineering religious mother, unleashes her telekinetic powers after being humiliated by her classmates at her senior prom. I mean, that tells you pretty much everything you need to know right there.
That's a loaded plot, but yes.
It is. And this film was directed by Brian De Palma. And I believe that he did the Black Dahlia, I think, right?
Yeah, with Josh Hartnett, who's having a comeback.
Dude, I fuck with Josh Hartnett.
Dude, same.
You ever seen Penny Dreadful?
No. Have you seen Pearl Harbor?
I mean, obviously.
Okay, there we go.
Who hasn't?
That's all you need to know.
But you need to see him in Penny Dreadful is all I'm saying. Brian also did some like work with Bruce Springsteen. So he's had like a couple of bigger things kind of under his belt. And then in terms of just like this film and kind of where the conceptualization came from, this actually is an adaptation from Stephen King's very first novel. So this was a very, very big deal for him. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later. But props to Stephen King for bringing us one of our favorite stories.
And I kind of mentioned it up top, but where you can currently watch this as of April of 2024 is Max. So don't come for me if you're listening to this later and it's not on Max.
Yeah, so watch it now, people, because you never know when these things are going to disappear. And then, Allie, do you want to take us into our ratings?
Absolutely. So the tomato meter gave Carrie a 93% score. That is fucking high.
Damn right.
Okay. we can battle about this. And the audience score was a 77. I would give it in the 80s. Like a 80, maybe like, I don't know, 4.
I mean, there's definitely, it has its problems, right? But yeah, I mean, I think I generally agree with the high rating. And on IMDb too, it has a 7.4 out of 10, which definitely is high. And we talk about this a lot, but like generally for horror films, we don't normally see very high scores. I mean, I feel like some that we've done on this podcast have been on the higher side because they're more popular films, but like the whole genre as a whole, you normally don't see them that high.
Yeah, but that was a high tomato meter score.
Yeah, lots of tomatoes.
But basically, this is a popular film and it's iconic, and we have an iconic cast. And number one, obviously, our queen, Sissy Spacek, who is Carrie. I love her so much. What a queen. And if you haven't seen The Help, please go watch her in this. It's amazing.
She's so good.
She is like the cutest little patootie. And then we have Piper Laurie, who is Carrie's mom, Margaret White. And all I can think of in this movie, all I see her is she's in The Faculty, which is also a good movie we will probably cover one day.
Definitely.
But that's all I can look and see about her. I'm like, oh my God. Also, she passed away last year. R.I.P. We love you.
Very sad. R.I.P.
She didn't know that this was going to be a horror film because of her dialogue. She thought it was going to be a comedy. So, LOL.
Oh my God, that is just wild to me because, like, I'm sorry, but how could it be anything but horror? Like, if you look at her performance. But anyway.
Well, she took it like it could go either way, honestly.
Yeah.
And then we have Amy Irving, who plays Sue Nell, and I love her in this. And I think I'd be Sue's friend. And she's also Mother Foster and Tuck Everlasting, which millennials will remember this. Please. Something so fun. Her mom plays her mom in this film.
I love that.
Mrs. Nell is actually played by her mother, Priscilla Pointe.
Pointa? No, that's not it.
And maybe that's why they have such good chemistry in this film, is because they have that motherly bond. And then, you guys, no explanation needed, but I'll give it to you. Our next big guy is John Travolta, who plays Billy. And I'm like, no, sorry, this is Danny Zuko. And he's also obviously in Saturday Night Fever, Pulp Fiction, Look Who's Talking. And it's actually John Travolta's first major film.
Amazing. Next, we have William Kent, who plays Tommy, and he is Sue's like boyfriend and kind of becomes sort of a love interest to Carrie later on in the film. And then we have Nancy Allen, who plays Chris. And Nancy actually didn't know that her character was going to be evil in this film until she really saw the final cut. And she kind of is one of the main villains. And then lastly, we have PJ Souls, who plays Norma. And this gal is really cool. She is always in a hat, literally in the entire film. The producer even called out one time, like we were watching when she is getting ready for prom in a hair salon, and she has one of the like hair dryers down over her head, and the hat is sitting on top of the hair dryer. It's hilarious.
I have that in my notes too. Like, yeah, I love the commitment to a hat because I fucking love a hat.
We love hats. I recently found out that I buy a lot of hats, but just don't wear them. So I'm making it more of a point to actually wear them.
Wear those babies. Like, we love a hat.
Another cool thing about Norma, real quick, before we wrap up our top billed cast, is that she's actually in Halloween. She is one of the very first kills. So if you guys remember kind of when Michael puts on his sheet to sort of look like a ghost, which is one of my favorite parts, and he kind of pretends to be her boyfriend coming back upstairs with beers, that's her.
That's her, and she gets yeeted.
Absolutely fucking yeeted.
But we love PJ.
We love PJ. Okay, Allie and I loved also how many fun facts there were for this film. We've kind of sprinkled them into like the different scenes that they correspond to, but some that were just sort of general that we found out, which were really awesome, is that number one, the name of the high school in this film is Bates High. And this is a reference to Norman Bates from Psycho, the 1960 Alfred Hitchcock film. This film also has a 4-note violin theme from Psycho that has been used over and over again, which is amazing. And so I love like all the connections. We talk about this all the time, but there's nothing that my heart loves more than when a horror film is making small odes to other films, and then they're kind of like Easter eggs.
Emma, can you give us that sound? Oh, you can stop. Producer's gonna love that.
You asked it. Anyways, so I already kind of mentioned earlier in the episode, but this was Stephen King's first novel ever, and also first novel that was adapted into a film. And while speaking at a book event in Fort Myers, Florida in 2010, so kind of recently, Stephen King actually recalled that he was only paid $2,500 for the movie rights to Carrie back in 1976. And, you know, a lot of people might have thought that like he totally got gypped or whatever, but he said he has no regrets. He's like, I was fortunate enough to have this happened to be my very first book. So I just love that he is humble enough to be like, okay, obviously this helped me sort of raise to stardom and to really get my name out there.
I mean, I would take $2,500. Like,
I'm going to say, yeah, I mean, let me know.
And then our last fun fact is that the ring that Sue wears throughout the film, the character Sue, was a gift to her from Stephen King.
I mean, I also want to ask her, like, does she still have it? Like, she's got to still have it, right? I fucking hope so.
If Stephen King gives you a ring, you're not fucking losing it.
You're keeping that forever.
Yeah. If Stephen King gives you a ring. Oh, my, I'm a poet.
If Stephen King gives you a ring. If Stephen King gives you a ring.
Stephen King, can we meet you?
Yeah. All right, guys. And the time has come that we are going to dive into this 1976 classic, Carrie. And the film opens with some girls back in the 70s in school playing volleyball during PE. And we are immediately introduced to our main character, Carrie, played by Sissy Spacek, as she tries to kind of participate and unfortunately fails miserably.
I'm also like, they throw a volleyball to Carrie because they know she's going to fail and they just like want that.
Totally.
Also, this is triggering to me because I used to fake my sick notes for PE for 2 years in high school and it totally worked and I didn't have to do PE for 2 years.
What?
Yeah. Story for a different day. Sorry, Mom. Also, why were the gym uniforms in the 70s so much cuter? We got the short shorts, we got the hot shorts, and the tube socks. And I'm pretty sure my high school uniforms were unisex and I looked like a boy.
I fully agree and thought the exact same thing. I was like, these girls look so cute. It reminds me of our outfits when we wore our Camp Crystal Lake outfits to Midsummer Scream last year. Yeah, we've definitely gone backwards in terms of cuteness when it comes to PE uniforms, I feel like. Like, can anyone tell us what they look like these days? Because I have no clue. And so as Carrie just failed, obviously she's kind of beating herself up about it a little bit. Literally all of the girls start talking shit to her as they are now dismissed from the volleyball game and are kind of on their way to the showers. And it's just so sad. You can tell she's just like a really timid gal and she's sitting there while they're just like all talking shit to her.
And the character Chris, the pretty blonde girl, she says, "You eat shit."
So sad.
And Norma, the girl with the hat, PJ Souls, she was supposed to only be cast for 2 weeks, but after she improved that, like hitting her on the head with the hat, she got like recast for the entire movie, which is like, you go, girl.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I love
amazing.
PJ Souls. Like, you go, girl.
And then next, we actually see the girls in kind of a slow-mo scene. And this is what I would consider kind of like the opening scene. It's very weird. Me and the producer talk about it, and all the time we were like, this is such a strange thing to be watching. But it's a slow-mo scene in the locker room of all of the girls getting dressed after the showers. And there's like this calm classical music playing. And it's definitely problematic because we are essentially seeing quote unquote teenage girl bodies like right from the start of the film. Like these are supposed to be high schoolers. Obviously everyone in the film is of age, but that is not who they are playing in the film. So it's very weird.
Totally. And I'm like, it's a lot of boobs and bush and confidence. And
Definitely
also,
confidence. I love that.
and I'm like, my locker room was not like this.
So we also see during the scene that Carrie is kind of the last to shower. So she's one of the last girls in the shower. And just like Ali said too, there's like a lot of steam everywhere. And it's kind of hard to see her, but she's completely showering alone.
Okay, good for you for like taking the time to separate yourself from everybody else because you're shy. But it's kind of like a sensual scene. She's like rubbing herself and I don't know, like, do you know what I mean?
Probably a little bit of self-discovery, a little bit.
Oh, this whole film's a self-discovery for her. So yeah,
sure is.
She's self-discovering her body in this scene.
Well, and she actually ends up getting her period. And we deduce this is her very first time getting it. And she freaks the fuck out. And as this is like happening, there's an iconic scene that it's a very close-up shot of her legs. We don't see anything inappropriate or anything, but we do see the blood streaming down her leg as it's in the shower, kind of dripping with water. And I think that's such an iconic scene. It's like stuck with me for years and years.
I'm also like, at least it's in the shower. Yes, it's a public shower, but at least it's not like you're sitting in your senior class and
you're wearing white pants or something.
And it's like in your jeans or your skirt or whatever.
Yeah. Totally. Well, and then she starts like screaming and running through the locker room. And this part is so wild because I love the producer actually brought this up. He's like, I love that the first girl that she runs to is a girl wearing a white sweater. I'm pretty sure it's Sue. And picture Carrie just absolutely freaking out with blood on her hands. She has no idea what's happening or why she's bleeding. And she runs right over to Sue and the other girls who are all dressed and almost ready to go to class. Like, poor girl. And as she freaks out to all the girls in the locker room, they all start kind of realizing obviously what's happening, and they start teasing her and throwing tampons and pads at her and cornering her back into the shower. And they're literally screaming at her, plug it up, plug it up. Like, it's so fucked up and sad. You can tell that Carrie is genuinely so scared of what's happening. And it's just like so sad because you can just tell she is terrified.
And that phrase, plug it up, lives literally rent free in my brain.
Oh, girl, same.
I like hate it and I love it for like the film. But I also never really noticed that Sue is one of the biggest like instigators of the plug it up situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then she becomes like a nice person.
I think she starts to have a change of heart, like
yeah.
which we're going to see later in the film, but
she was like the one like being like grabbing them out of the tampon thing in the bathroom
and throwing
them.
Yeah. So sad. So sad.
And
Girls
I'm also
can be
just like
so mean.
Girls are awful and wonderful.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
But like also like who the fuck would do this?
It's just so sad. Bullies do this. TikTokers, the producer said. And then we get introduced to one of our other main characters, Miss Collins. I'm sorry, Miss Collins. Ooh, I am for real. Okay, well, anyways, Miss Collins is the gym teacher, and she intervenes kind of the whole situation and tries to go help Carrie. And she's trying to help Carrie and getting Carrie to like just sort of get a grasp on the situation. And she has to actually kind of smack her to calm her down. Like, she's like, Carrie, like, you're freaking the fuck out. You need to get it together and just fucking focus, you know?
I'm pretty sure that's not chill to smack a fucking student.
Oh, no.
But
Nope.
maybe the 70s were like a more like a wilder time.
My mom was in school in the 60s and 70s, and she said that her teachers would hit students on the knuckles with rulers
What the fuck?
all the time. In San Diego, here in San Diego. Crazy.
Okay. But that's true. But I'm also proud of Miss Collins for being like, what the fuck, Sue? You're better than this. Like, you shouldn't have instigated this entire thing.
So as Mrs. Collins is actually kind of trying to calm Carrie down, we actually see one of the lights like above them in the locker room break. And this is kind of as Carrie is experiencing this like extreme stress. So this is the very first indication that something is going on and there's some sort of connection between Carrie and her emotions and making physical things happen, which is super cool.
And this is our first instance of experiencing her powers. And Sue looks shocked by the light breaking. And our bitches, Norma and Chris, are like, haha, word, that's insane. Like, oh my gosh.
Like, it's so cool.
That's so cool. And I'm just impressed with Miss Collins, who is like willingly holding a naked 17-year-old who is crying and bleeding. And she just wants to comfort her and explain that this is normal and it's fine.
Yeah, Miss Collins is one of the only people within this film that actually gives compassion to Carrie, which I really appreciate. And it's super sad to think that it's coming from a PE teacher and that no one else in Carrie's life is really kind of exhibiting the same. Later on, we cut to the next scene and Miss Collins is talking to the principal, and right outside the principal's office, we see Carrie, and she's sitting out there kind of just like waiting to see kind of what's going to happen after the situation. And we see Miss Collins and the principal talking, and they're talking about how, oh, like, isn't she a bit old to be starting her period? And they're just being like just super kind of weird and talking about how she should have been educated on her body and things like that. It's such a weird thing, and Carrie can clearly hear them outside talking about her.
Oh, so I just thought about this, but like, how is everybody so composed after that gym class and like has all the feathered hair, and now Carrie just like looks like a wet dog after that?
That's a great question. And
Thank you.
Allie, I don't think we're ever going to know, because what does the producer say?
It's a movie.
Yep. There you go. I also love that Miss Collins and the principal are literally just casually smoking cigarettes while in the office. Like Miss Collins just walking around with blood on her shorts from Carrie's hand. Just
She's
like
a fucking gym teacher.
she's a fucking badass is what she is.
Okay. But the health teacher's smoking?
Okay, you're right. That's true. But hey, they didn't know back then, right?
I mean, totally. So while they start to just talk about the situation, and Miss Collins recognizes that the girls bully her because she's a scapegoat. She's an easy target. You know what I mean?
Totally. She's like, I get it.
She's like, I kind of wanted to fuck her up too. Like,
So then Miss Collins and the principal decide that they're just going to send her home. And it's such a crazy scene because the principal just has no fucking compassion towards Carrie whatsoever and can't even get her goddamn name right and keeps calling her Cassie instead of Carrie, which just indicates that like no one in the situation really cares about her. And Miss Collins even tries to correct him a few times, and she's like, dude, her name is Carrie. And we can actually, as this is all happening too, sort of notice that the cigarette ashtray that's like in the office is starting to like shake a little bit, which again is maybe another indication of like Carrie is feeling frustration and maybe anger towards the principal for calling her Cassie. And she's like almost making it move, right? With her mind.
she's for sure making it move. And I'm like, you go, girl. And also, how is nobody fucking noticing that?
No, I know.
It's the cigarettes, probably.
Probably. And then he says his like final, just like, he's like, we're all sorry about this incident, Cassie. And she's like, it's Carrie.
Good for her for correcting him.
Finally.
Yeah, because I would probably be the one that okay, my name's just Cassie now.
I know. No, I'd be like, okay, he doesn't know my
That
name.
is my name now.
The amount of times that people have called me Emily and I've rolled with it, it's not even funny. People also think that my name is Anna. If I'm like calling, a food place and I'm like, hi, can I order for pickup? My name's Emma. They go, okay, Anna. And I'm like, fuck.
Mine's like Allie, or well, obviously I am Allie, but like mine's like Amanda or Hallie or
Amanda.
like yeah.
That's like 3 syllables.
I know, but no. Anyways, yes.
Then later after school, as Carrie's kind of walking home and getting tormented actually by a little kid on a bike, it's so sad. He's calling her creepy Carrie, creepy Carrie. And Carrie actually causes him to fall down just by looking at him.
Why the fuck do we call her creepy Carrie? She's just a girl. Just because she keeps to herself and like puts her head down, she's not fucking creepy. Let an introvert girly be a girly. And also, I wish I had these powers.
Don't we all? And we actually also kind of simultaneously see in another part of the scene that Carrie's mom is actually going door to door talking about the Bible and her church.
And it's at Mrs. Snell's house, which is
Sue's mother.
Sue's mother. Yes, Carrie's classmate, the one that instigated the tampon raid. And it's Mrs. Snell that's answering the door, and she's like, fuck, it's not an Avon calling.
She's like, damn it.
Yeah.
And Margaret White, Carrie's mom, says, I'm here on the Lord's work.
So while they're speaking, Mrs. Snell is like, hey, they're classmates, so like maybe they should hang out sometime and she should come over. And Mrs. White is like, bruh, I'm just here to talk about God. And she explains that she's concerned about their teenagers. They're like all sinning. They are promiscuous and everything. So that's kind of her path, is to correct the sinning of their teenagers.
I also love too, because Carrie's mom in this moment, she says, these are godless times, Mrs. Snell. And I love that she says, well, I'll drink to that. And she says it so quickly and then recognizes like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have said that. But like also same, I will drink to that.
No, legit same. And she's like, okay, well, actually, I'll just read these books, but I'm also going to just drink this fucking gin and tonic or whatever
she's
the
like,
fuck it is.
Yeah, she's like, thank you for the Bible verses, and I will donate to the church so that you can get the fuck out of here.
Like, literally just get the fuck out.
Yeah. So then after Carrie's mother leaves, we're back with Carrie, and Carrie's mother gets home, and we actually see Carrie kind of in a panic, and she is changing her clothes, and you can tell that she is super nervous to talk with her mother, which is so sad because, you know, we would all hope that everyone has a very safe home to come back to, especially after you've had a really hard day at school and are being bullied. So it makes me really sad that she feels the need to change her clothes and do all of these different things.
Yeah, it's like daggers that her mom isn't like caring for her. But something cinematically I thought was interesting is their home, the White House, is actually white.
The White House.
The house of the Whites is white, and it inside is extremely dark. And I think that's just like a stark contrast to make us feel those emotions and all of those things. So I thought that was pretty cool cinematically.
I totally mentioned that to the producer too when we were watching this, that it felt so spooky and the opposite of godly. It felt very sinister and creepy and dark. So then Carrie's mother ends up getting a call, and I feel like when Carrie hears the phone, she definitely already knows what the phone call is about and is sort of dreading / preparing herself for her mother's response. And her mom calls her downstairs to talk about everything, and it's just so sad because you can tell that Carrie is so hesitant and scared and just doesn't want to have this conversation with her mother.
Okay, hear me out. Mrs. White reminds me of Mother Gothel from Tangled. Just me?
1000%. I'm pretty sure that they based it off of her.
Thank you. So during this confrontation, after this phone call, Mrs. White says to Carrie in a very creepy ass fucking tone, "You are a woman now."
Well, then Carrie's like, Mom, why didn't you tell me about my period? Like, this would have been great information to know. And I know I keep saying it's so sad, but it really is so sad because she keeps asking her mom, why didn't you let me know? Mom, I was so scared. And then Carrie's mom starts reading a Bible verse to her and basically telling her that she sinned.
And Carrie's mom, she repeats this like a lot, is the first sin is intercourse. The first sin is intercourse. The first sin is intercourse. And I'm like, okay, bitch, you had to have intercourse to produce fucking Carrie.
The way that she's speaking to Carrie throughout this whole conversation makes me feel like her mom is either A, totally delusional, or B, also equally uneducated into what women go through and how this is a very normal thing for a healthy teenage to young adult woman to start their period. Just like you said, I'm sorry, but you had to have your period in order for you to have a child. Mm-hmm. And did you not know that this happens to every woman? Like, why are you bashing your daughter about this. It's so weird.
So what you're saying is we need a Mrs. White pre-story movie.
I also think we need to take her to sexual education class.
Yes.
I think is what's going to happen. But
she's dead though.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Sad. R.I.P. And Carrie is trying to get through to her and she says, I didn't sin, Mama. And Carrie tells her that how all the girls teased her today at school and how she was really scared. You should have told me, Mama, she says. And then Carrie's mom ends up actually dragging her into a prayer closet. And Carrie is screaming to come out. It is so terrifying. And again, just shows us that her mom is never going to understand where Carrie's coming from or reason with her or sit down and hear what she actually has to say. She is a one-track mind and everything is kind of the Lord's work, so to speak.
But yes, this prayer closet is fucking creepy as shit. And it reminds me of the Chokey in Matilda.
Yes. Oh my God. I thought exactly the same thing.
Also, they have this creepy ass fucking figure of what I thought was Jesus, but it's actually not. It's Saint Sebastian, but it's really creepy. And we see that throughout the film.
Also, why is a prayer closet a negative thing? You know what I mean?
That's true, but hers seems pretty sinister.
No, this is totally used as a punishment for Carrie, which is so unbelievable.
100%. It's a Chokey.
Later that night, when Carrie is able to come out of the closet, she actually thanks her mother and just like tells her thank you. And her mother says for her to just go to bed. And while Carrie is getting ready for bed, she stares at herself in the mirror and she's looking at her reflection just with such heartbreak and turmoil. And she actually starts sort of like rubbing her temples a little bit and it causes the mirror to break, just this intense emotional stare that she has at it.
And I don't know if you noticed this, you can see this creepy ass picture in the reflection of the mirror that is, I think it's a picture of like God or Jesus. It's a religious picture in the background.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, and it's like, and then it breaks and you can see it all like split.
Ooh, scary.
It's very scary.
Very scary. Well, and then her mom comes up to check on her and she's actually not able to open the door at first. So again, we're getting more and more indication that Carrie's got some fucking powers up her sleeve and she's making physical things happen. And because her mom's not able to open the door at first, obviously she keeps trying, but then she's magically able to open it all of a sudden and finds Carrie praying by her bed. And I just wrote in my notes in all caps, holy shit, Carrie has powers.
And I wrote in my notes, this is the point in the movie where I realized this is just a way more fucked up Matilda.
It really is. I love that rendition.
I love it and I hate it at the
Yes,
same time.
Very true. So the next day while in class, we are introduced to the quote unquote love interest, Tommy Ross.
Would we call him a love interest? Throughout the film, we get like a lot of mixed signals with this. Like, is he a nice guy? Does he actually like her? He's also involved with another woman. So it's very confusing. But also the things I would do to him, like, young man, get out of here with your curly blonde ass hair and your turquoise ring and your bell bottoms. So it's a problem for me because I would be like, fuck yeah.
Als, he is 100% your type.
He is my type. Yes.
I actually told the producer while we were watching the scene that I dated someone in high school that sort of looked like him with the same hair. And people thought we were brother and sister because my hair also kind of looked like that.
That's fair enough. But I would be like, I'll do whatever for you, brother.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, people. And as the teacher in this class is reading a poem out loud, and this poem actually happens to be written, so to speak, by Tommy Ross, Carrie says that it's beautiful. And the teacher actually starts to kind of mock her for saying that the poem is beautiful. Like, I'm sorry, but fuck you. Like, she's participating, which is what you want in class.
Again, how the fuck is everybody allowed to be mean to this fucking girl? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how? And Carrie really is beautiful.
She is super beautiful. And in this film specifically, She's slender. She's got long, kind of strawberry blonde hair, and she's got beautiful natural freckles, very light features, her eyebrows, her eyelashes. And this is actually a little contradictory to how Stephen King actually wrote Carrie in the film. The actual Carrie in the novel is more like chunky, kind of has like shorter, curlier hair, I believe, and then has pimples all over her face. So it's definitely more of a trying to be, you know, quote unquote, unconventionally.
Yeah, it's a contrast.
It's a contrast. Then later on, as Miss Collins is calling roll in gym, we actually see that some of the girls that were originally teasing Carrie in the locker room with the whole tampon situation have actually vandalized the gym door, and it says Carrie White eats shit.
And I don't understand how this kind of bullying can happen. Again, I was bullied too, but this kind of level was not happening. But guess what, bitches? You are an easy target too.
And like, you're never going to know who has telekinesis. Okay.
Exactly.
That's all I have to say.
Yep. Period.
Period.
Oh.
All facts, no cap. I love it. And Mrs. Collins actually ends up disciplining the girls who tormented Carrie. So in this film, at this part, you're very much just like, yes, Carrie, like finally some redemption for her. And they are being punished for kind of what they did in the locker room to her when she got her period.
And while they're in this gym detention, which I would kind of like because like I'd rather do that than like sit in a fucking room. But Miss Collins is like talking to Chris and she's like, Chris, get the gum out of your mouth. And Chris is like, what should I do with it, Miss Collins? And she's like, bitch, you can choke on it for all I care. I don't give a fuck. And I love that.
I love that part. How she's like, you can choke on it. I'm like, oh yeah. Is this like how teachers are talking back in the 70s? Because I kind of like when you're talking back to a bully like that.
Exactly.
Miss Collins also gives them 1 week's detention and that it's going to be with her every day after school for 50 minutes on the field. And I wrote a little side note here too that I think Chris, one of the girls that was like part of the problem, she totally looks like
you
Stevie
mean
Nicks.
the main fucking girl?
The main villain, sorry. It's the problem, it's her. She totally reminds me of Stevie Nicks, no?
She definitely does, but like Sydney Sweeney?
I can kind of see that. Okay. I'm with you there. And I thought that this whole thing was kind of silly because basically Miss Collins tells them that, you know, if she had it her way, she would have not let them go to prom at all. And it would have been a way worse disciplinary action. But basically the school administration said, you guys are going to do your detention. And I thought this was really funny too, because when I was watching with the producer, we both had the same response. We're like, is their punishment really just helping them just get in shape for prom? Oh, sorry, you guys have to work out every day after school for 1 week with me. Like, I'm sorry.
I'm just confused because like 3-day suspension, no prom. I feel like that's way more justified than just like fucking work out.
100%. But also like, I'm not going to lie, this is a way better punishment as a 33-year-old than like just sitting in a room though. I kind of like that it's like getting them outside and getting active. Maybe that's just me though.
We were troubled by PE because like we didn't want to do it when we were younger. And now we're like, get me to a
I'm like, someone
cycle.
forced me to work out.
But Miss Collins says, if you do come back this whole week of detention, you won't be able to go to prom. And I'm like, all right, well, I like that punishment. And there's a whole ass scene of them like doing conditioning work, like sit-ups and push-ups and what is the thing where you have to go up and down? Burpees.
It's like burpees before they were called burpees.
Yeah, and they're in their cute-ass fucking PE clothes, and it's all to this great 70s music. I love this little montage of them, this PE scene, and I'm like, I love it.
So then after all of this like conditioning workout stuff is happening, we actually see Chris confront Miss Collins and she is not having it. She basically is like, Miss Collins, you can't get away with doing this to us, what have you. And Miss Collins fucking smacks her, which I fucking love. I know it's like not a good thing to actually do to someone, but I love it for the sake of this film.
Yeah, I love that you love that, but I'm pretty sure that's not kosher for like a teacher to do.
100%.
Okay, word. So Chris is like, fuck no, I'm not doing this. And she's calling out all of her friends who are also in this PE detention class. And Norma, the girl that always wears a hat, is shit up. She just like shakes her head with her hat. And she's like, nah, boo. And we see my girl Sue, and she's just like, shut the fuck up, Chris.
Yeah, they basically are all like, hey, it sucks that we have this detention, but we got to just do it. Chris, shut up and just do what you need to do. We're not going to sacrifice prom just because you want to be defiant, basically.
I can't believe that Chris wants to sacrifice prom because she seems like a prom girly.
She probably was going to be prom queen, potentially.
Well.
And then Chris says this little iconic line right before she storms off the field. And she says, this isn't over by a long shot. And then Miss Collins straight up bans her from prom. She's like, it's over for you, girl.
Girl, this isn't over by a long shot.
It really isn't.
Get fucking ready.
Next, we actually find Carrie, and she is in the library. And I love this scene because she is looking for books related to mind powers. And she actually finds a book relating to telekinesis called Moving Objects by Force of the Mind. And I think that that is such an awesome thing that she's sort of becoming self-aware of these like powers that she has. And now she is taking to the nearest place that she knows that she can probably find some information, because obviously she can't talk to her mom about this stuff.
I love that that's there, yes. But why is this in the library? Ready access for teenage people?
I have two thoughts. Thought number one, what does the producer say?
It's a movie.
Thought number two, you would be surprised what's in libraries, because a true library is meant to have a plethora of information, no matter what it is.
Okay, fair enough.
And I don't think it's so out there to have. I mean, if I were to tell you guys a small story of me as a Nania, I used to go to the public library in my city that I grew up with my mom and my dad. And I would be in the children's section, and I was really into witches at one point, and there was a bunch of books about spells and witches and all kinds of things. And I would make potions with like the dirt in my backyard and like sticks and stuff.
I mean, we all did that, but like telekinesis?
I didn't look up books on telekinesis, but there are witchcraft books.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? I don't need the name calling, okay?
You know
This is
what?
a film about bullying.
We're learning.
And I'd appreciate it if you zipped it. Anyways, so later after school, Sue actually meets up with Tommy, and he's kind of practicing for track and field and running, and he's really excited because he just got a good time on something. And she's like, dude, I really need to talk to you about something important.
And something about the scene that struck me was that like a lot of the track team was in stark yellow and he's in black. And
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. And it's meant for us to see him stand out. And I just like love when filmmakers do that. Just like that's meant for us to see him stand out.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, and Sue throws us kind of all for a loop, and she says, Tommy, I want you to take Carrie White to prom. And then we immediately get the scene cut to that night. And it's Chris, little Miss Defiant PE girl, and her boyfriend, Billy. And this is where we get introduced to John Travolta. And they're driving in his car. And who knows exactly where they're driving. The whole scene is sort of taking place in this car. And Chris is doing her makeup. And Billy is just messing around, listening to music. He sees several people kind of pass by him that are friends of his or just random teenagers that are also out driving for the night.
I'm telling you, man, like, the 70s were my time. Like, I'm pretty sure I would have thrived in the 70s. But yes, we see a very young John Travolta, and
22. He was 22 when this was filmed.
He could fuck my shit up probably, like in a really good way.
I was like, in what kind of a way? I'm like a positive or a negative?
Honestly, probably a bunch of ways, but
okay, shoot.
But while they're having this gallivant, drinking and driving and all of this shit, a cop rolls up to them and flashes a flashlight towards their car, and he's like, fuck, and throws a beer into Chris's lap. And then she's like, what the fuck? And he fucking slaps her. And I'm like, bitch, you can't fucking do that.
Lots of people are fucking slapping Chris.
A lot of people are slapping everyone.
That's very true.
Is that a 70s thing?
I don't know.
Chime in, everyone. And I'm like, why is she not mad about that? But it's all good. He's also like, you dumb fuck. He calls her a dumb fuck. I hate that.
I do hate that.
And I'm like, okay, Johnny T, we can't talk to people like that.
Someone needs to tell him. If anyone knows John Travolta, can you tell him? Isn't he a Scientologist?
Oh, God. Let's not get there.
Okay. They're a tumultuous couple.
Yeah. We don't support this couple. They are toxic.
Yeah. Then later that night, we're back with Tommy and Sue, and we never really got any resolution from when Sue asked him to take Carrie to prom, and they're sort of just hanging out. Sue's doing some homework and Tommy's kind of hanging out by the TV, and Tommy is sort of like, oh, okay, like I'll take Carrie to the prom. And then later we see Chris and Billy again, and they end up getting in a bit of a tiff even later as they are right outside of a party that they've pulled up to in the car. And Chris tells him that she really wants him to do something important. And if you are at all sort of in tune to what's happening with the film and kind of paying attention to clues, you can almost bet that she just wants to do something either to Miss Collins or Carrie or something within the situation because she was punished to kind of like get back at everyone.
Yeah, and again, they're on this like weird fucking date at this party. It looks like a wild party. I kind of want to go.
I know. I was like, actually, I'm kind of down.
But Billy wants to go to the party and she's like, don't be in such a hurry to go. And he's like, bitch, I'm hurrying away from you. I was like, oh, that's deep. And up until this point, I'm like, okay, this is John Travolta as Danny Zuko in a different font.
In a different font. I love that.
You know what I mean?
Oh, girl, I got you. I got you. And I also love this part too because she just immediately out of nowhere says, Billy, I hate Carrie White.
And right after that, she wants to give Billy a favor and she supposedly is like going down on him and we can hear her clearly speaking. And I'm like, how's that rational? But we just hear her, Billy, I hate her. But she's giving him head.
She's using some sexual manipulation.
She is, but how is she speaking during fellatio?
I don't know, Shio.
Okay.
So, the next day, Carrie is magically back in the library, and Tommy finds her and basically asks her to prom.
Oh, do you remember being asked to prom?
No.
Okay, moving on.
I was dating an older boy, so I had to ask him, which was super fucking annoying.
That's cute though, too.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, I had a bunch of like pretty immaculate prom proposals in my lifetime, and I'm pretty blessed for that.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So basically, Tommy has asked her to prom.
And then she immediately runs away, which I love, and I busted up laughing.
But I like also it's a boy that you just like have never really talked to and is extremely fucking hot. Just comes up to you and is like asking you to prom. Wouldn't you be like, this is sus?
Abso-fucking-lutely. I would be like, this isn't real. I'm running away now. Later on, Miss Collins actually ends up finding Carrie, and she's kind of sitting in a corner by herself. And Miss Collins is trying to ask if she's okay. And she almost thinks that Carrie is sad in some way or like hiding for some reason.
And she's like, you can trust me. You can trust me. And I'm like, bitch, you just slapped Carrie a few days ago.
Right?
You keep slapping everyone.
You're
homegirl.
slapping everybody. Well, and so Carrie actually does end up telling her, she's like, oh, Tommy asked me to prom. And Carrie is a smart gal. And she tells Miss Collins, I have my suspicions. I really think that in some way this might be a trick of some sort.
It's sketchy.
Yeah, you actually don't really know if someone could be messing with you at any point. Then as they're kind of talking a little bit more, Miss Collins actually takes her back into the locker room and makes her kind of look at her beautiful face and tries to give her a few tips to just like enhance her natural beauty. And she's trying to get Carrie to see who she really is and make her feel just a little bit more confident. And maybe it's not so crazy that Tommy asked you to prom. You know, you are a beautiful girl and you should be confident.
We can also see the senior prom poster in the reflection of the mirror. And I'm like, love that we see this, like this theme in this movie. And we can also see Mrs. Collins' trepidation here too. Like she is trying to hype Carrie up, but she also knows like shit be going down. Like what the fuck is actually going to happen.
Absolutely. And then Miss Collins actually sits down Sue and Tommy and is straight up asking them, okay, like what's up here? Why did Tommy ask Carrie to prom? And what are you guys up to? Because I can tell that this isn't like a genuine thing.
Yeah. And like poor nice ass Tommy is just like a pawn in this game. And Sue, I'm pretty sure Sue's trying to be a nice person, but like Tommy's just like the actual fucking pawn.
I think they're definitely both just trying to be nice. And I think that Sue is trying to get a redemption arc a little bit here because in her heart, she's not a mean girl. And the times that she has been caught up with the mean girls, that's just like not actually her. And she's using her boyfriend, Tommy, to try and fix that.
That's super weird.
It's very, very weird. But the fact that Tommy also agreed to it too, I mean, they both know that they're doing a nice thing and that Carrie would probably benefit from going to prom with him and having like a nice prom experience, you know?
I have a lot of questions about that, but we'll see if we can get to it.
Well, and they explained to Miss Collins that they have only good intentions and that it would be a really good thing for Carrie to just make her feel included. And it was kind of crazy because I think at some point here, they also mentioned that you actually can't go to prom without a date, which...
What the actual fuck is that about?
Since when has that been a rule? Because I know you definitely have been able to go stag. At least I've heard that term for many a years, unless it's something that just in that specific high school, you could not go without a date.
This must have been a 70s thing because I've definitely gone stag to dances like so many times.
Totally.
But I was like, you can't buy a fucking ticket if you don't have a date.
That's bullshit.
That is bullshit.
That's discrimination.
And then during this conversation with Miss Collins, Sue says, we aren't trying to hurt her. We're trying to help her. I hope I believe her because I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Well, and Miss Collins even shares with them her many reasons of why she's wary of this plan and how they may not have even thought through the full thing. Like, do they know how this might make Tommy look? I appreciate that Miss Collins is being very forthcoming in how this may affect them. It's kind of shitty because she's saying essentially that they are popular kids and that it might make them look bad. But I also appreciate that she is warning them that if they are going to do this nice thing, it truly needs to be with the utmost good intentions and they can't worry about what kind of negativity they might get from it because at the end of the day, it's really just about Carrie.
Yeah, and Sue was like, we don't care how we look. And Tommy just like laughs and...
He's just trying to get laid by his girlfriend.
I think he really just like is just like, fucking tell me what to do. I'm tired at this point.
He's an easy rider.
Yeah.
He's easily persuaded.
And super hot.
He'll do something for love for his lady.
And I'm just curious about this change in Sue. Like what changed her mind? Because at the beginning she was throwing the tampons and maybe she just like paradigm shift. I love it. That's amazing. But like what changed?
Yeah, that's a good question because we don't really see if there was a specific moment in time other than her getting in trouble and maybe it just worked.
On her, but nobody else.
Yeah. So then later on after school, we actually see Tommy go to Carrie's house to formally invite her to the prom again in person because if you guys remember, she ran away in the library.
We see him pull up in this bitchin' red car. And I'm like, I love a bitchin' red car. This is amazing. Also, how does he know where she lives? That's okay.
Maybe a small town where you just kind of know everybody. Maybe they've all lived there all their lives.
Also, love his outfit. I wore something like this last week. Like I said, I'm in my fucking bell bottom like era.
Are you in your Tommy era?
I am in my Tommy era in so many ways. Just, we love it. Jean top and jean bell bottoms and like your boots. Okay. Blonde people pleasers who love red cars. Let's go for it.
I mean, first of all, when she opens the door, she's very coy. She doesn't even want him to basically see a crack into the house. And she says, Mama's resting. And she also, which I love, she's actually fully calling him out that she knows what he's doing. And she knows that it's for a dumb reason and that his prom proposal is not very genuine, but he refuses to go and leave basically her house until she says yes. And she keeps saying to him, she's like, why is this so important to you? And he comes full circle back around to the fact that she really thought that his poem in class was beautiful. And I just love this part because I love a full circle moment.
So one of my favorite movies, you guys, Never Been Kissed. This is a full circle. Never Been Kissed. Drew Barrymore. He liked your poem.
He liked your poem. So Carrie actually ends up saying yes essentially out of persistence from Tommy, which also kind of reminds me of The Notebook when Noah is asking Allie on the Ferris wheel to go on a date with him. And he's saying that
Will you go out with me?
And he won't get down from the Ferris wheel from hanging on it until she says that she'll go out with him. So very similar tactic here. And she ends up slamming the door in Tommy's face before her mom actually comes to the door, and she's able to avoid her not knowing kind of what just happened.
And Tommy's like, word, yeah, 8 p.m. Okay, bye.
See ya.
See you then.
Bye. Then we switch gears a little bit here into a very sucky scene, I'm just going to say. And later that night, we have Chris and Billy together again, and they are with two of Billy's friends, and they all are going together to a slaughterhouse.
I just can't understand how kids might even fucking think of this kind of stuff to do.
It's very morbid.
It's very morbid. And this whole scene reminds me of I grew up in a small town in East County, San Diego, and it's kind of like cow tipping. And these kids fucking suck, period. Basically, they're going to fuck some shit up in a very morbid way.
Yeah, you can tell something negative is going to happen with the pigs. And one of them even says, I'm going to bash your little heads in, as he's talking to the pigs outside of their pen. And as they kind of sneak into the slaughterhouse, Billy actually climbs into a pen with the pigs, and Chris cheers him on as he bashes a pig with a sledgehammer. And I'm so sorry I even said that line. It's so sad, and I hate it so fucking much.
I'm also who the fuck is this sinister, and who is this dumb? Leave the fucking pigs alone. They did nothing to you, just leave them alone.
Leave the pigs alone.
I did not have... Sorry.
Pig relations.
But they have nothing to do with this involvement.
They did nothing. Okay. So then later that night at home, Carrie and her mother are actually eating dinner together, and Carrie tells her that she's been invited to the prom, which I was like, whoa, okay, shit. She's just straight up telling her mom, even though her mom's probably going to say no.
How did she get so bold so fast? And she's like, everyone's going, and I'm not like you. I'm funny, and all the kids think I'm funny. And I'm also like, do they think you're funny, or are they just making fun of you? And I'm like, hashtag help Carrie. I will be your friend.
We will be your friend, Carrie. 100%. And she tells her mom how she wants to start being a whole person, quote unquote, and how Tommy Ross is just a very nice guy and she just wants to be normal. Her mom, as she's saying all of this, actually ends up throwing a drink in her face. And you can tell right then and there, okay, at first you weren't sure exactly how the mom was going to take it, but now we know for sure that she is not happy with this.
And Carrie still sticks up for herself, and she's like, bitch, he is nice and I am going. And Marge, I keep calling her Marge, Margaret. Marge being like, after the blood comes the boys.
Oh yeah, that was such a weird line.
And I'm like,
what did she say? She's like, they could smell it.
Yes. And I'm like, there's so much blood influence in this movie in so many different ways, which yeah, which I kind of love, but I hate her being like,
it's unsettling.
It's unsettling. It's your blood. Again, it goes back to education about young women's bodies. After the blood comes the boys. Couldn't that be a really interesting motivational wall poster?
Is that like a poster in sex ed?
like hang in there. The hang in there with the kitty.
No, I know, but I don't know if that's the same as as after the blood comes the boys. Sure. We're gonna table that one maybe for later. And after she's having this conversation with her mom actually threatens to put her back in that damn closet. And she's begging her mom, Mama, please come and sit with me. And as her mom actually goes to try to close some windows because it's pretty stormy out and she doesn't want to let the rain in, we actually get to see Carrie close the windows with her mind. And it's very intentional. And this is one of the first times that we're starting to really see her kind of have control of these telekinetic powers that she has. And she tells her mom, she sticks up for herself and she says, I'm going, Mama. Things are going to change around here. And her mom calls her a witch and she says, you've got Satan's power. So her mom is even catching on to the fact now that Carrie is being able to do these strange telekinetic things. And Carrie straight up tells her, she's like, Mama, I can move things with my mind and I know that other people can do it too. And I've read about it. And basically, I'm going to roll with these fucking powers.
I love that for her, very much so. And she's just like, basically, I am who I am. And Mrs. White is just like, Satan is clever. And Carrie's like, I'm not the only one. And I'm like, okay, Matilda, are we related?
I think her and Matilda would be friends. If not, so maybe Matilda.
Ancestors.
Exactly. I was going to say, they've got to be related.
Yeah.
And I just like love how she finally stands up to her mother. Like it just makes my heart so happy. She's not doing anything bad. She's not being rude to her mom. She's just being like, hey, this is how things are going to be around here.
And she also like brings up some dad shit. She's like, Satan didn't take dad away. Like he ran away from you, boo.
Yeah, he ran away with another woman and you need to just accept that because you're fucking crazy. And then a bit later, we actually see Carrie starting to sew her prom dress, which is so sweet. And this is all happening as her mom is praying very adamantly. Now we've kind of switched gears here. We see Billy and Chris, and they are in the gym together where the prom is going to be held. And he gets a bucket of pig's blood ready to be tipped over by pulling a rope when the time comes. So they are setting this all up in anticipation that someone, aka Carrie, will be on stage at some point and they will be able to pull the rope and the pig's blood will cover her.
So this is kind of our first indication that the prom king and queen thing will be fixed. Also, kind of impressed by the jerry rigging of like pig's blood up on a like rafter.
It's giving Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then the next day at school, we see Freddie, another one of Billy's friends and one of the guys who was at the slaughterhouse. He asks Ernest, who is a classmate that is in charge of like the prom committee, asks him if it's too late for him to join the prom committee and that he wants to help with collecting ballots for king and queen. So we can already, as the viewer, start to anticipate they're going to rig this king and queen voting process in some way.
I was on student council, people. Nowadays, you can't just like join the committee. You know what I mean?
No,
like
it's not that easy.
The day of.
And you can't just join the voting part.
Yeah, it's so sus. Obviously, this is a plan. And then we see Norma and her friend are in the salon getting their hair done. And Norma has her, I think Emma said this at the top of the episode, but like she has her fucking hat on the,
on the
top
dryer.
of the dryer thing. Wow. I love like that's
commitment to the hat.
Yes, it's like marketing. Like you market yourself. She's marketing herself with her hat.
She's like, I'm the hat girl.
Yes.
That is me.
I love that.
And then later in the gym, some of the gals are decorating for prom. And these are the girls that originally were being crazy to Carrie and pestering her about being on her period. And they're talking with Sue about Tommy taking Carrie to prom. And Chris and Norma talk about how something will be happening at prom and how she'll for sure be there. It's just kind of like a weird, I don't know. It's like, Sue, you've got to be there because something's like going to be happening. So they're foreshadowing what is about to take place and not being very tight-lipped about it. Then after school that day, we actually get this really sweet scene where we kind of see Carrie go into a drugstore and she tries some makeup on and it's so sweet. She's trying on several different types of lipsticks and kind of doesn't know what she's doing, but she's practicing in a mirror and trying to do her best. And we also see Tommy actually kind of next door with some of his friends and they are trying on their tuxes.
I love this scene too because they're just like, blah, 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 blah. Like we're getting our tuxes. And I'm just going to say, who else wears a tuxedo, you guys? It's also somebody
Jack from Titanic.
That's true. A conductor of the Polar Express.
Okay, that is way, way too far of a connection. That doesn't, no. Mm-mm.
Give me it.
I can't.
You can.
Okay, moving on, Allie.
That's the only one I got.
That's what's wrong with it, is it's your only one. Later that night, as Carrie is getting ready for prom and putting makeup on herself in the mirror, so proud of you, girl. Clap, clap.
Clap, clap.
Her mother comments on her quote unquote red dress, and Carrie has to remind her that it's pink.
Her mother is like, red. I might have known it had been red. And I'm like, oh, do you mean like the end-to-end blood comparison about this movie? Get it?
Ooh, that is a great connection. I also love how she says, I can see your dirty hold on. I also love how she says, I can see your dirty pillows. And she says, they're breasts, mama.
I low-key want to start calling my boobies
Dirty pillows.
Dirty pillows.
Honestly, same.
I'm also loving that Carrie's like wearing this beautiful revenge dress that she's.
Oh my God, it's totally a revenge dress.
And it is pink and it is beautiful and she looks amazing in it. And like, free the nipple. I'm here for it. And it's not red.
So I do think free the nipple means actually seeing nipple versus nipple just being popped out of like a shirt. So I just want a reminder there.
Oh, well, whatever.
It's fine.
I'm just loving this hard launch of her new confidence.
Yes.
And I wish it would have like worked out better in the end.
Because then her mother starts literally throwing herself around Carrie's room. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be laughing, but it's very ridiculous. And she even scratches at her own face and makes a scene trying to get Carrie to stop getting ready. And she says, he's going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. And Carrie actually ends up using her powers to force her mom down on the bed. And her mom is terrified. And then Carrie and Tommy actually end up arriving at prom, and Carrie asks if they can kind of just wait in Tommy's car for a second before they go in. And I think she just sort of wants to take a minute to collect herself and sort of just live in the moment. And she even kind of says under her breath, oh, maybe this was a mistake. But then Tommy is so sweet and reassures her that it's going to be super fun and they're going to go in together and have a great time.
For two people who literally barely know each other, he is awfully good at knowing her and calming her down because, like, good for him.
Totally.
And I'm like, maybe they should have just gone to a Sonic, but he was like, she needs to go to a dance because she deserves a dance.
She deserves it. She deserves to be pretty and to be kind of on show for everyone, so to speak.
Nips out.
Free the nipple, as Ollie says. I mentioned this at the top of the film in the fun facts, but this was the first time I realized that this was Bates High School, and I immediately was like, oh my God, Norman Bates.
That's amazing, and we love a tie back to everything we love in horror. But my next note is like, oh my goodness, this decor is so fucking cute at the high school, and
so
I'm
cute.
so down for the stars and the fashion, and this dance is all I want in my life.
I wish this was my prom.
I know, literally, yes.
My prom was at the House of Blues in San Diego, which don't get me wrong, was really fun, but there was a lack of decor because we sort of wanted a venue that had its own vibe, right? And budget. Yeah.
Budget.
I wish we almost had just unlimited budget to make it crazy and really go nuts with decor.
The vibe was on point.
100%. And then Carrie and Tommy walk in, and it's kind of funny, but immediately Carrie's kind of whisked away by one of Tommy's friends' dates. And this gal is like complimenting Carrie's dress and is like, oh, where did you get it? And Carrie tells her that she made it. And then we cut to a scene of Sue, and Sue is not at the prom, obviously, and she's having dinner with her family, but then she abruptly is kind of getting up to leave so that she can head to the prom, even though she's like in plain clothes. So I'm a little curious of what the point is there, really. It's like, do you just want to see Tommy and Carrie together? I don't know.
Maybe like checking in on them, but also be like, I don't know.
Yeah. Like,
good question.
Because she's technically not supposed to be there, right? Without a date is what they've made clear in the film. So, but at the prom, Tommy asks Carrie to dance, and it's so sweet. And she just wants to sit for a minute and kind of soak it all in. And so before they dance, they are kind of having this moment just sitting at the table together.
Yeah. Tommy wants to dance, and Carrie's just like, I don't know. I'm just going to take a second. And I remember being so nervous at my first prom. So, like, I fully understand. Like,
yeah. And Miss Collins actually ends up coming up to them and saying hi. And they actually all sit together for a moment. And Carrie tells her that it's been just really nice so far. And then they kind of hug each other. And she actually says thank you to Miss Collins.
And Miss Collins is like, this is going to be a night you'll never forget. And Carrie says, I don't think I will. And I'm like,
LOL.
LOL. Nobody will ever forget this night.
Absolutely. And then as they're like at the prom, Tommy kind of already preemptively invites Carrie to an after party, and he's sort of asking her like, oh, do you have to be home early? And she's like, yeah, I promised my mama I would. And then Tommy convinces her to go and dance with him, even though she said that she really didn't know how. And I think that's so sweet that he's willing to sort of lead that.
Tommy's a gem, but I'm really confused by this interaction.
It's very interesting. And they do have a cute moment like dancing, and Carrie looks so happy. And the way that it's filmed is the camera is spinning around them in a circle as they are dancing, and it's getting faster and faster. And it definitely made me super dizzy. But they have this cute moment while they're dancing, and then Tommy ends up fucking kissing her.
And I'm like, what the actual fuck? Did Sue sign off on this during their agreement?
Dude, that was so wild when I saw that. It's one thing to take a girl to prom and make sure she's going to have a good time and dance with her and do all the things, but I'm sorry, are you not still dating Sue?
Fucking kiss?
Are you serious? I would lose my fucking shit if I saw the producer kissing Carrie White.
Okay. Actually, if Kevin was kissing Carrie White, I'd be like, I'm next.
In what way? The kiss or?
Dead.
Oh, okay. That's what I was. We just need a little clarification there.
Also both. Like,
dude, right?
She's cute.
Well, and Carrie asks him, like, why am I here with you? And again, in my notes, I'm like, I'm getting fucking dizzy with this scene.
All of the spiraling and the glitter and the stars are amazing to me.
It's so cute.
It's beautifully shot, but I do get that it gets me motion sickness.
Absolutely. And then Sue actually arrives at the prom, and she sneaks through a side door just in time to see Ernest getting ready to announce the prom king and queen. Carrie sees that her and Tommy are actually on the voting ballot for king and queen. And Tommy says to her, in quotes, "To the devil with false modesty." And I just love that it's like the devil.
They voted for themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
okay, guys.
Wouldn't you vote for yourself?
I mean, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, I don't know if I did.
We had to do it like 3 weeks in advance.
Yep, same.
And counting those ballots takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's very weird because they do count the ballots pretty quickly in this film to like determine who the winner is. It's very weird.
They like count them like just at a table, but we did Scantrons.
I don't even remember mine, to be completely honest. Well, then back at home, we actually get to see a glimpse of Carrie's mom, and she's going nuts. She's walking in circles around the kitchen and frantically cutting a carrot in a weird way.
She's not actually cutting a carrot.
She's chopping at it.
She's not hitting it. And I'm like, is this a metaphor for a wiener?
That is a great thing. If that is a metaphor for that.
I'm sorry.
Oh my Lord, that is amazing. Oh my Lord. Oh shoot.
Oh no. Margaret, are you here with us?
Margaret, oh fuck. R.I.P. But then at prom, we actually see Chris and Billy enter the scene, and they are in the background at prom, kind of under the stairs and in like the back of the stage, and they're prepping for this whole like big pig's blood finale.
Yeah, so they're collecting those ballots, and like Norma and maybe Freddie are rigging the election. So they're gathering all the ballots, and then they're actually taking ballots they've already wrote into.
Yep. And then, like we kind of mentioned, after a very fast count, Ernest, the student who mans the whole committee, he gets on stage and announces that Tommy and Carrie have won prom king and queen.
You go, girl. Go, Carrie, for winning prom queen.
But like also suspicious a little bit.
It's so sus. Like if you know you've been bullied so much recently and you've been treated like shit recently, isn't that suspicious?
It's also, again, sad that she's just so trusting and just trusting that these people are being nice to her. But anywho, as they go up on stage, there's this really amazing scene where Carrie is covered in the spotlight, and you can just tell that she's like absolutely beaming with happiness. And everyone is clapping for them as they go up on stage, like they're actually genuinely happy that they are king and queen. And this includes the principal and Miss Collins clapping for them. And as this is happening, we see Chris and Billy under the stairs of the stage, and they're just waiting to pull that rope so that they can drop that pig's blood all over Carrie.
I totally forgot too that John Travolta is not that much in this movie, and
No.
he could not go to prom either because fucking Chris fucked it up for him.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a good point. Yeah, because he can't go by himself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, double whammy.
I'm happy that like it's not just for women. So it's just
sorry, you can't go either.
You can't go either,
even though you're there and about to pull a rope with pig's blood. But anyways,
exactly.
Okay, so here is the big moment. And just as Carrie is being crowned prom queen, Sue is in the crowd and she notices the rope kind of on like the side of the stage because that's kind of where she's standing and she can see the rope kind of moving. And she's unfortunately not fast enough to stop it, obviously. And Miss Collins actually pulls Sue away from the stairs before she's able to intervene with like the pig's blood falling.
It's just insane because like Sue was just trying to help and Miss Collins is like yeeting Sue out of there. And I don't know if you catch this, but Tommy kisses Carrie on stage.
Yes, I did see that too. And I was waiting for Sue to see that, but I don't think she caught it.
I also want to know, what was his game plan? Like, were they planning to date afterwards, or like is she going to be left heartbroken?
Are they going to have
P&V? I don't know. Like, what was the game plan after this prom situation?
These are all great questions that we need an alternate ending.
But basically, Tommy kisses Carrie again in front of everybody, and Mrs. Collins literally throws Sue into like the street.
She thinks like Sue was doing something to fuck shit up, even though that's not what happened.
And then Chris, my little blondie, pulls the rig, and Carrie's being covered in blood now.
And this is kind of a fun little fact, too, that goes along with Carrie being crowned prom queen. But Sissy Spacek, who plays Carrie, actually attended Quitman High School, and she was actually homecoming queen, which I thought was kind of a fun little parallel there.
Oh, my God, because Emma, were you a homecoming queen?
I was. Allie, were you a homecoming queen? We peaked in high school.
I was, and yes, we did.
Also, at the same time that all of this is happening, the bucket, after it has drenched Carrie in the pig's blood, actually falls completely down and totally decks Tommy in the head. And I actually read in some background of this film that this was supposed to have killed Tommy, ?
I'm not sure about that, though. I mean, maybe, sure. See, I'm
Can someone validate?
Can someone validate? Because, like, it was like it's just a tin bucket. Maybe there's some still more pig things in it.
More pig things. After the blood has covered Carrie entirely, she starts to hear her mother's voice and just hears her repeating, all of them are going to laugh at you. And she has a bit of a mental breakdown, and you can see in her eyes the emotion starts to seep in, and the anger and the revenge that she wants to take out on these people. And she ends up closing all of the doors so people can't escape. And she does this with her mind, which I love.
And she's doing this all on stage. It's like such an immaculate scene, and her eyes are just like stark white and staring at everything. And she's got total power and control of everything. And we hear this repetitive noise from her mom, Margaret. They're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. And then from the principal, sorry, Cassie. And then, you can trust me, Mrs. Collins. So she hears these like repetitive things that are fucking her brain up. And so she's just like looking everywhere, and she's going to fuck her shit up.
Totally. Well, and as she's like humiliated and enraged, Carrie starts to use her telekinetic powers to unleash absolute chaos upon everyone at prom, killing some of her classmates actually in the process.
Like most of them. I love this scene, though, that we see that like hurt behind Carrie's eyes, and that's why her eyes are so big and it's beautiful. And I'm like, girl, go on with your bad self.
You go get them.
And I was reading that. So Sissy Spacek was actually extremely method during this movie. After being covered in blood, fake blood, mind you, for continuity purposes, Sissy refused to wash off the blood, and she chose to sleep in the bloody clothes for 3 days of filming. Like, ew. But, like, love that for her.
We love the commitment.
We love a dedication.
And she actually unleashes a fire hose next within this, like, prom venue. And the students start getting sprayed, and the fire hose starts going everywhere and starts even spraying some of the lights. And this is causing a little bit of an electrical difficulty. And as this is all happening too, we see Miss Collins, and she gets hit with a part of the decor almost like right split in half. I mean, she doesn't actually split in half, at least that we see, but the decor kind of hits her right in her middle body, and you can see it has a very detriment effect to her immediately.
I feel like Carrie has chosen like who to kill.
Total. Oh, absolutely.
And I just feel like
it's very specific.
It's very specific.
But then there's also like people that get hurt in the...
Yes, you're right.
People are getting hurt too, just like within the whole wrath that she's taking out on these specific people.
But what we're seeing in the specifics is intentional.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Because there are innocent bystanders.
Oh, yeah.
But we
for
see
sure.
what we see specifically are people that have harmed her.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then we also see the principal and one of her teachers, they actually get electrocuted, which is super scary. And then the prom just in general descends into absolute chaos as Carrie extracts her revenge on those who have tormented her. And it's so wild because this is such an like iconic scene. But Carrie is completely covered in blood, making her dress what color, Allie?
Red.
And
it's just so iconic because she's just this woman that's been submerged into like nothingness, and now she's killing everyone.
There you go. Well, and as Carrie is walking home covered in this blood, Chris and Billy actually manage to escape, and they get into Billy's car and they try to drive full speed ahead at Carrie to try to kill her. And they're coming at her from behind so she can't see them. But Carrie, it's fucking clever girl, she uses her powers to swerve them out of the way and completely flip their car several times before it absolutely bursts into flames.
I'm also like, why the fuck would they want to come and try and hit Carrie? They just dumped a bucket of fucking blood on her head and she just lit a fucking auditorium on fire. And I feel like Chris is on coke or something.
Oh, she's definitely on coke.
She's on something.
For sure. Then Carrie returns home and she's still so in shock at the events that have happened at prom. And she looks absolutely terrifying.
But like in the most beautiful way. I'm like, you go, girl.
It's terrifyingly beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah. And when she gets home, she finds that her mother has gone off the absolute deep end and has lit every fucking candle in the house.
And cryptic church music is playing.
Oh, yeah. Spooky.
And honestly, all of the candles being lit in the house is a vibe. And I'm
kind of down with it.
Yeah. And I'm most likely to join a cult. So this makes sense.
Culty vibes.
Carrie's like, fuck this pig's blood. I'm going to take a bath. And then she takes her little bath. But I didn't notice this. You put this in your notes, Emma. We see her in the bath with...
So as Carrie turns on the light in her bathroom after she has like bathed herself, we actually see Carrie's mother in the reflection of the mirror, and she's hiding behind the door, just being a fucking weirdo. And it's so spooky.
You know what's wild is like the reflection of people in the mirror. It's first
Jesus.
It's Jesus.
Then we see the sign for prom.
And then it's mom.
Jesus, prom, mom.
Mom.
Okay.
Hashtag.
Let's make a t-shirt.
Yeah. Or not.
And after like the whole bath situation and her getting all this fucking pig's blood off of her, her mother actually tries to console Carrie sort of, but then ultimately blames her for what happened.
Yeah. And this is a struggle for me because I'm so close with my mom, but Carrie's just like, hold me, mama, please. Hold me, mama, please. And she just wants comfort from her mom, and it's daggers because she's not going to give her comfort. And we know that.
Totally. Then her mom starts saying fucking crazy shit like, I should have killed myself when he put it in me, and sin never dies. And then her mom starts to tell her of the night that her father had sex with her and basically conceived Carrie, and that she smelled whiskey on his breath, but I liked it, is what she says.
But like, is she saying this is Carrie's fault? She got born?
Carrie didn't fucking ask for this.
She did not ask for this. Also, why would you marry a man not to be intimate with them, or marry anybody not to be intimate with them and have a life together?
Also, I'm not trying to get to the Bible, but I'm pretty sure that in a lot of Bibles, it says that you are to have sexual intercourse with your married partner in order to procreate.
Totally.
So like you're
That's
not doing something wrong necessarily, dude.
I don't know her mom's goal, And then her mom starts to say, let's pray. And for the last time, we will pray, which is alluding to what's about to happen next.
Spooky. And then as her mother is holding Carrie in her arms, we see her actually try to grab a butcher knife, unbeknownst to Carrie, to try to stab her. And she actually succeeds. It's this heartbreaking scene. Carrie is so surprised and heartbroken by what just happened. And she actually ends up kind of falling down the stairs as her mother walks after her, praying and also trying to stab her again.
And her mom, while she's doing it, sort of looks happy. Like she looks like satisfied that she's stabbing her sinful daughter.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah.
And then Carrie tries to crawl away and get out. And before her mother can stab her again, she actually uses her telekinesis to stab her mother multiple times with various kitchen objects. I love this part because it's like she's just sort of looking around at what's like available and just uses kind of whatever she can find. And her mother ends up kind of looking like a crucified Jesus, but also exactly like the Saint Sebastian figure that was in the prayer closet that we got to see at the beginning of the film. Carrie then ends up kind of panicking a little bit because she realizes that she's killed her mother, and she kind of takes her mother into her arms, and the whole house starts to basically like destruct into itself, so to speak. And it also simultaneously lights on fire, and then it's presumed that it essentially kills them both.
I'm just confused about like, why is the house collapsing into itself? It's catching on fire. And I'm like, is it because of her powers?
Totally her powers.
We don't get answers, but life doesn't always give us answers.
That's true. And then the last thing that we see with Carrie and her mother is that Carrie actually takes her mother with her into the prayer closet.
R.I.P. gals.
R.I.P. Okay, now we are at our final scene of the film and we're about to wrap up. But in this next scene, we see Sue, and she is presumably, I mean, not presumably, but I guess actually a survivor of the prom night massacre. And she's resting in her home in bed as her mother is kind of tending to her.
I mean, as Sue, I'd be like so fucked up from this because to me, I feel like I was the problem that caused this whole mass murder.
Like she might be blaming herself for some of it. Yeah, for sure. And then in a dream state, Sue actually visits Carrie's grave, or it is actually a for sale sign from their house. And it's also a cross that has some vandalism on it that says Carrie White burns in hell. And Sue is there to leave some flowers where the house once stood, where Carrie and her mother lived. You know, she's kind of showing remorse like for her actions.
And I'm not sure if you noticed this, like at the top of the film when Margaret White is going up to their house, it is like a for sale sign. And now we see that kind of redundantly here. And I'm not sure if that means anything or it means nothing, but I did notice that for sure.
I actually did notice that too. And I called that out to the producer when we were watching. And there's also another small little nugget where her mom actually tells Carrie, once Carrie says that Tommy has asked her to prom, she's like threatens to make them move. So I wonder if she's kind of always in a state of for sale, so to speak, because she's ready to hop houses at any time if Carrie does anything that is not within God's power. You know what I mean?
God's power.
And then as Sue is at this like grave site, we see the film end with this amazing jump scare as Carrie's hand emerges from this grave, and Sue wakes up absolutely screaming in terror in her mother's arms.
And that's the end of our film.
That is the end of our film. And actually kind of a fun fact just to add to round things out here. Sue, she actually was so terrified in her outburst in this scene that her real life mother, Priscilla, who was starred as her mom in the film, actually screamed out Amy instead of Sue when she kind of woke up, and because she'd never seen her daughter that hysterical, and called her real name just out of concern. And it's funny because you can't catch it in the actual scene because the loud ending music totally covers the mistake, which is crazy.
I feel like I heard it. I put it in my notes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I need to go back and watch it because once I heard that, I was like, oh shit, I definitely want to see if that's a thing.
And Emma, what are your final thoughts on this film?
I think my final thoughts were that I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I love Stephen King, so I have a little bit of a tie to him in my heart. I have not read Carrie in forever. It was actually one of the first books that I read from him. But I just love a good film adaptation. Even though there were several things in the book that are different from the film, I really, really loved it. I loved the message that bullies will always go down in some way. So be kind to others is all I have to say.
Also, this kind of meets all of my horror needs. It's like campy and it's horror and it's supernatural and it's real teenage problems. And that kind of combines all of my life.
Totally,
so
same.
I love that. Like, don't bully people.
Yes,
you guys.
do not. And then, Allie, did you think that this was scary?
No, I think the scariest thing was that we didn't get those cute gym clothes as people who went to high school in the 2000s.
I mean, I totally agree.
Do you think it was?
No, I did not think it was scary. I think when I watched it way younger, I did have a few moments that it sort of freaked me out with her telekinesis and some of those. I think honestly, it coincided with the Psycho music, like that.
That's the thing, yeah.
Like when I would hear that, that would freak me out. And that maybe was just a psychological kind of tie back to the movie Psycho, potentially.
Good for that composer then.
Yeah, right? And Allie, what was your favorite scene?
I think my favorite scene is when fucking Norma has her
I was going to say the same thing. I knew you were going to say that.
When she has her hat on like the hairdryer thing just at the salon and she's just like, what up? I'm here and my hat's right here too.
Love it. My other favorite scene, in addition to that, Els, is that I loved Carrie, that moment where she's on the stage after the blood has completely covered her and her dress is red, her face is red, her hair. I mean, she is soaked and she is just looking out to the crowd in pure rage. And I'm going to get my revenge on all of you.
It's an iconic scene. And I so love that one too, but I just like, I can't give up a hat.
No, we love a good hat. But yeah, that is all we have for you guys today for Carrie. We hope that you liked it. If you have not already, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to the podcast. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever. We would love to hear your great feedback, and we hope that you love the episode so much. You can also find us on social media at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks for TikTok and Instagram, and check out our Patreon if you have some time and want to support the podcast as well. Alice, do you have some ending thoughts for us?
I have some wise words for everybody. Don't bully people. Happy prom season and stay spooky fuckers.